Welcome to Our Future is Kind, a podcast exploring how we build the future we want to live in, one kind act at a time. I'm your host, Michael G. Neece, president of Our Future is Kind, and your trusted companion as we search out kindness strategies we can use in our everyday lives. Together, as we chase the idea of building a kinder future, we will interview experts in kindness, team building, human motivation, corporate culture building, relationships, plus politicians, artists, and those with a vision for a healthy and kind future, one we all want to live in and deserve to enjoy together. In addition to interviews, we will consider positive depictions of humanity's future in art, literature, the movies, and media. And we will issue kindness challenges each week, give an update about Our Future is Kind, the company, and what it's doing to stay true to its mission. So, let's dive in. Before we start this episode, just a quick reminder about the Human Summit. It's a movement focused on connection over division, kindness over judgment, and empathy over apathy. If you want to learn more, check out www.thehumansummit.com/home. As one of the co-founders of this Human Summit, I'm so excited to tell you just a little bit about it. Co-founder Kevin Hunting and I have put this together with an amazing board of advisors, and we can't wait to share it with you and the rest of the world. Check it out now and reach out to us if you have any questions. So excited today to have co-authors of one of my favorite new books. It is Starbound, for those of you who are watching along. Starbound, A Beginner's Guide to the American Space Program, from Goddard's rockets to Goldilocks planets and everything in between. Welcome to the program, Emily Carney and Bruce McCandless III.
Hi, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you both here. You both have an amazing reputation when it comes to knowing about the space history and being involved in human space flight, being in that world. But I want you to tell me just a little bit about yourselves. I mean, what got you into this world, and what got you into writing?
Emily, you want to take that?
Yeah, well, I got into space very young. I grew up. I still live in Florida, but I grew up not that far from the Space Coast, and I kind of grew up against the backdrop of the early shuttle program. And when I was very little, my mom took me outside to see one of the first shuttle launches, and sure enough, we went outside, and I saw it from about 130 miles out, but it was still really cool. And I remember from that point on, I was just obsessed with everything space. I just couldn't get enough. I was into it pretty much my entire childhood. When I got older, when I became an adult, I joined the military, basically just to get college money, because I came from lower middle class family, and I really needed the money for school. And so I did that for 6 years, got out, did go back to school. I became an educator for a while. Didn't really like it. Unfortunately, wasn't my jam. So I quit that. I mean, I quit. I quit that, and I started a freelance writing career, and I worked at a clothing store, selling perfume. Right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I started a writing career. I started writing about space because I was like, man, what do you really know about? What do you like? What are you passionate about? I was like, I love space flight. So I started writing about it. And then, also in 2011, I started a little group on Facebook called Space Hipsters as well, around kind of the same time, because I was like, it'd be cool to have kind of a grassroots group about space. Really, to my great surprise, it all caught on. I developed a following, my writing developed a following, and Space Hipsters developed a big following. And it's been, almost 14 years since we started the group, which is wild to me. And now the group has almost 66,000 members, I think. I mean, that's enormous. So yeah, that's really my story as far as, how I got started. But yeah, I started writing specifically about space flight just because I love space history. I've always been reading space history books. One of the I mean, there's probably thousands of books I could talk about, but I remember when A Man on the Moon by Andy Chaikin came out, I was just obsessed, and like many people are. And it was something I always wanted to do. I thought, man, if you're passionate about it, just write about it and stuff. So I wasn't very good at the beginning, but I think I've gotten better. So I think that's my answer.
Well, I've enjoyed your writings for quite a
Thank
while, and I've been a proud space nerd. I joined the Space Hipsters group probably about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was my first introduction to reading your works and knowing more about you. So exciting. That's great. Bruce, how about you?
Hey, Michael, could you hear me earlier? I think I may have been muted. If so, I apologize.
No, we heard you great. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to say thank you, and you're very kind to have us on the show. And I started writing at a very young age. I'm not sure why, what compelled me. I wrote a story in elementary school about a snake, a garter snake in particular, and then followed it up with a massive 27-page novel about the Second World War. And I've just been writing ever since. And like Emily, I think I've gotten better. I'm not positive, but I started just writing whatever I could. Hand binding things myself, taking it to the bookstore, saying, "Hey, will you sell this for me?" And now we've got this book out from the University of Nebraska as part of their Outward Odyssey series. And we're real proud of it, and it seems like it's selling pretty well, and people seem to like it. So here we are.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to getting the rebinding of the snake story. So let me know when that comes out.
I will do that.
Well, yeah. So this new book that you've just released on the 1st of this year, I'm excited about it. I have already dug into various portions of it, and I have to say, the wry wit that goes into so many different sections just reeled me in. It got me laughing. It got me really interested in the storyline. That's a fabulous writing style, and I wish I had it in my books. I'm just going to say right now, I'm so jealous. Wish I could write that way. But I want to ask you, when you're at a dinner party and somebody says, "Hey, what's in this book? What's so good about it?" What's your favorite story to tell? Like, what's the one thing that you point to in the book? You're like, "Oh my God, you have to hear this."
Well, for me, it's almost always the Wernher von Braun story, and the idea that we brought over German rocket scientists after the Second World War to work on our own program, and most people sort of know that. They maybe know von Braun. They don't know the extent to which we brought over German, in some cases former Nazi scientists and engineers to help us with our own technology. And I always get a lot of head shaking and jaw dropping and that sort of thing. And you combine that with the story of the Suicide Squad, a bunch of leftists working out at Caltech on rocketry, and how they were sort of later more or less driven out of the country, and you get a very dramatic juxtaposition that gets you into politics and rocketry and all kinds of things. So I would say I would always start there, and that's a good place to get people interested.
All right, I want to be at that dinner party. I want to hear that pitch. How about for you, Emily?
I really like the Suicide Squad story because I think it's just so crazy. Because a lot of people think, the origins of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You think scientists, you think of people in lab coats with, horn glasses like this, very academic and, serious and stuff like that. You think of people in the Voyager, the Voyager encounter videos. A lot of scientists, Carl Sagan types. These were not Carl Sagan types. These guys were nuts, and it's amazing. I love it. I love that. They were crazy, and I love that juxtaposition of, okay, you might think these guys were like this, but they were not like that at all. This is where this originates, and I love that. I love it when, you find out that some of the just the wildest people are doing stuff. I'm a little biased. Probably my second favorite part of the book is the 70s section, just because you have all this stuff happening. You got, you know, the final lunar missions. You got Skylab getting broken and then getting messed up and then somehow surviving. You know, you have Apollo Soyuz, which was kind of the last, you know, cluster's last stand, so to speak, literally. And then you have the shuttle being developed and going through the growing pains of that happening because they literally didn't know what they were making, you know. They didn't have the technologies. They had to develop all that stuff from the ground up, which to me is wild because you always think, oh, we have this, right? No, they didn't have that. They had to make it. And again, and juxtaposed against the crap that was happening during, I mean, I don't know how to put it. Some of the crap that was happening during that decade, you know, you had political upheavals, you had awful cinema, and music coming out, just like, you know, variety shows, just that decade was just like a big fever dream almost. So I love that. I like that part of the book a lot. I'm one of those people, the more crazy a story gets, like the more just like what the hell is going on, the more I like it. So those are my favorite parts of the book.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to say the whole idea of using an umbrella in space and then having like Deke Slayton finally getting into outer space. Yeah, these are wonderful stories. I have to say that some of the things that resonated with me, it was Frank White. You highlighted him very late in the book about the overview effect, and I want you to just talk to our audience a little bit about that because it's a fascinating view on how humans, you know, look at each other a different way when they've gone to space. Can one of you just describe a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll take a stab at it, and Emily can probably supplement a little bit. Frank White is I guess he described himself as a philosopher. He studied the reactions of people who had been into space and found that there was sort of a cognitive shift in the way people looked at Earth and human relations among people who had been in orbit or to the moon. And generally speaking, the idea is that people who have done so adopt a more universalist position and are skeptical about the importance of borders on Earth and tend to think of us as one species on one planet rather than a bunch of competing tribes and nations, and generally advocate for us to work together and recognize our common interests and be good to each other. It's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you read the book that he wrote, the Overview Effect book, I think it's been updated a bunch of times since it came out. I think it came out in 1987, I think. I don't know.
Okay. That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, I think he came up with the concept around 1985. I'm just I could be wrong. This is from my brain.
Sure.
But yeah, I love that book because he interviews a lot of different astronauts. I mean, not just the Apollo guys, because in the 80s, it was mostly the Apollo guys who, you know, you had a few women astronauts here and there, but the book sort of stretches out a little more now because it's been updated. But yeah, what amazes me is a lot of the people who've seen Earth from that viewpoint, they have different like reactions to it in a way. Like you look at someone like Edgar Mitchell, who got really into like ESP and kind of, you know, sort of new age kind of stuff. And you have Bruce, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like I'm speaking for your dad, and if I'm wrong about it, please tell me. I think Bruce's dad, Bruce McCandless II, he sort of developed the environmental focus when he came back because he, you know, saw Earth as, yeah, we think of it as this big planet and stuff, but it looks very fragile when you're looking at it from roughly 200 miles away. You know, it doesn't, you know, you got this atmosphere that's like paper thin, you know, and it's really kind of it's not as robust as one would think, you know, when you look at it from that viewpoint. So it's really cool to see how different people sort of got changed by that experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes good sense.
Yeah, the fact that we are just barely putting our toe into the cosmic waters and learning about the environment in which the Earth exists, to me is just perpetually fascinating. I mean, we're so in the infancy here and trying to capture that in your book. I think you both did it so beautifully, talking about the fact that, it's not an either or proposition. If we can find the money, then we have enough money to feed the homeless and to go into outer space and search and come up with Planet B or Plan B. Anybody who has not already checked out the book on Amazon, I want you to go there. Just keep listening to the podcast, but go to Amazon right now, find Starbound, and order your copy right now. It is a riveting read, and it ties together everything from the early rocketry of Goddard, all the way up through, some of the great space telescopes that have been launched, and even takes you into these great predictions on page 237. I'm now just going to pull this open here for a second because I think it's worth saying. You have the 11 fearless space predictions.
I
don't know if they're fearless. They're actually pretty fearful because we're probably wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I was excited to read this, and I'm like, oh, they obviously have to be on my podcast because, here at Our Future is Kind, we're always trying to figure out what should the future look like. I'm just going to highlight one of my favorites here, which is number 5. Human beings will walk on Mars in 2039. It's unclear what language they will speak. See Fearless Space Prediction number 1 above, which is humankind will return to the moon in 2028, though it's unclear whose rocket will take us there. It might be Chinese.
Yes.
There's so much we just don't know yet. History has yet to unfurl itself, right? Future history is not here yet. I want you to go beyond the book. I want you to visualize with me for just a moment that we are in 2125. And I want you to tell our audience, if we do everything right, if we just, we advance all the technologies the right way, we partner internationally in good faith with good budgets, we learn how to treat each other well and hear each other better. 2125, what does it look like? And what are you most grateful that we have in 100 years that we don't currently have?
Emily, you're going to have to take that one.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'm being very optimistic when I put this. It's probably way too optimistic. I'm hoping in 100 years we have a off-planet civilization, so to speak. I can't tell you whether it's going to be a space habitat, and here's where Bruce rolls his eyes when he said it. I can't tell you if it'll be like a O'Neill colony. I can't tell you if it'll be like that, but could be like that. Could be something that's off planet, has nothing to do with a planet. Might be on Mars, might be very for all mankind, for all we know. I'm hoping that it's sort of a UN type setup where it's sort of a diverse coalition of different nations, different people from every continent, because that would make sense given that there's many different people in this planet. It's not just one type of person who needs to be running everything, in my opinion. That's my hope for 100 years from now, is that we have sort of a democratized, presence in space, so to speak. You have all sorts of different people living off planet, and that's the life they know. The only thing is, I haven't quite found out, okay, what are we going to... There's certain things that you need, like, gravity for, right? There's certain processes you might want to have gravity for, like having, like childbirth is probably one of them. So I'm not sure how that'll be worked out, given if there's people living off the planet, there's obviously got to be children born into that. What does that pose to a baby, being born in space? I don't know if that's going to happen in my lifetime, but it might happen, I mean, it makes sense because, you had the pioneers who settled to other countries, eventually kids were born, stuff like that obviously happens when you have people living anywhere. So that's what I'm hoping to see in 100 years. I try to have a very optimistic view. I've been criticized for that. That's fine. I read a lot of 𝐸𝐻𝐾 O'Neill. He may have been somewhat unrealistic, which is fine. That's a criticism of his work, but I like his work because he's very positive, and he uses a lot of positive language. So that's how I am choosing to look at the future.
Right. Well, there's plenty of dystopian stuff that's out there,
Yeah.
so we don't need to dwell on all
I
of that.
don't want to look. I know, like I said, I know people listen to this and criticize that because they're going to be like, "Oh, it's not aligned with." Yeah, but I'm choosing to look in the positive direction. I think that's generally where people would want to go. Is
Okay.
something where, okay, we're all going to just try to get along and do the best we can. Nobody's trying to, jockey for power here.
Right. Well, I'm ready. Sign me up.
Yes,
Yeah.
me too. Me too. I'll go today. Like, come on.
Yeah. I like it.
So-
I
so
like
Bruce-
I like Emily's vision. It's sort of the Star Trek vision.
Yes.
I'm less optimistic than she is. I would like to see it. I'm just not convinced we're going to get there. I mean, especially given the politics today, and people just seem to be. We have so much. We're so blessed and fortunate in what we have, and yet we seem to be so unhappy all the time. And as technology is getting more and more powerful, and we don't seem to be keeping pace in terms of how we deal with it and what we do with it. And I'd love for Emily's vision to happen. I'm just not quite as optimistic as she is.
Like I said, I'm looking through very rose-colored glasses here, and I'm quite aware of it, unfortunately.
Well, I think that over time, humans are going to get more and more upset with and dismissive of things as usual. Like, the idea that we have to climb over each other to get to something that we want. Working together, as Mr. Spock so eloquently put it in the original series, he talked about, you have the lone wolf and you have the pack, and the pack is always going to win because it's that mutual support. Not every pack member is going to win, but the pack as a whole will. So lovely, yeah. In just a spoiler for my version of the future, we've abolished money. It's gone. It's not a thing. People are motivated by doing good things because they're worthy of doing, and supporting each other because it's worth supporting each other. So, pertinent to that, our future is kind. Is a phrase that was chosen for a reason. It's collective, right? Future, we're looking toward the future. And then kind. The whole idea is that to get to these places, we need to infuse more kindness, more trust. People who show up in good faith are the ones who are going to help us win, right? Let's be brutally honest here. Emily, I know that you and I have had just brief conversations around this, but there are moments when we can be excluded. There are moments when we can be dismissed. You already said it. So I want you each to just riff on this a little bit. I want you to think about it and tell our viewers what you think. How can we best handle those situations where we are faced with casual cruelty or with unkindness? What are your ideas? How can you still live your values and be a kind human being while also not just taking it on the chin because that's what they're doling out? Does that make sense?
Yeah. My answer to that, honestly, because I've unfortunately encountered a lot of that in life, because I've worked in a lot of fields where there just weren't many women in them. And that's not bagging on men or anything like that. I mean, there's internal misogyny where there's women who don't want other women to get ahead. So it's not just, I'm not trying to bag on men 100% here by any stretch, but I've been in situations like that where where I was excluded, where it was like, okay, we know you're part of this thing, but we want you to the side. We don't want you to be, I'm like, whatever. My thing is, I just keep going. I know that's very, like, I don't even know if that's an answer. I just keep going until, like, there's this great quote by the singer Isaac Hayes, who passed years ago. He wrote Shaft, the Shaft, very 70s song. But he had a quote, and he was talking about when Martin Luther King died, and he was like, I was so angry and I was so upset that I couldn't write anything. I couldn't write music. And then I thought, I'm going to make myself so visible that no one can ignore me, and that's how I'm going to get my point across. And that's really, I love that quote. That's how I've chosen to live my life. I'm going to, and there have been times where I've been so upset, and I've been just so down, and I'm like, this sucks, I mean, and it's not a matter of wanting to be seen to be powerful or to get attention or anything. It's just, you want your idea counted in, like, hey, I have this idea, we don't have to do it, but just at least consider it, and I've had moments of frustration like that. And my thing is just keep going and become so visible they cannot ignore you.
It's a brilliant answer. I love that answer. On being exceptional and being in front of people so that they can see you being exceptional, and they can suddenly have that revelation of, oh, we should include her more.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you are inspiring a lot of people using Facebook, using podcasting, using your writing, and now with this latest book, you get to inspire others. I want to know, what inspires Emily Carney? What, do you have a TV show that you go to? Is there a favorite set of books that you always reach for? What is it that inspires you?
Oh, wow. Things that inspire me, gosh, I do love to read. I read a lot of different books. I do read a lot of spaceflight books, but I read all sorts of different books. I do read a lot of inspirational type of books, on how to deal with situations, like sort of self-help, I guess.
Sure.
I have read your book, and I like it a lot. I love it. So very mutually, I have to say thank you. I love it. I think it's excellent. I do need to review it on Amazon. I apologize. I'm definitely behind on everything. Other things that inspire me, I just, I have a lot of people who are sort of like, I'm obsessed with, like, I don't mean that in a stalker way. That sounds
Sure,
weird.
yeah. I know what you mean.
But I have people who it's like, I don't try to pattern my life after them because it sounds creepy, but they're people who I really emulate, like I look up at them and I'm like, wow, I'd like to just live my life like that. They're so unbothered. Like one of the people who there's a lot of people in spaceflight who inspire me, like Nicole Stott. I love her.
Great astronaut, yeah. She's
amazing. Eileen Collins, I love her. I've spent a little bit of time with both of them, and I'm just like, I just think they're amazing. One of the older, he would kill me if he heard me say that, because I don't think he feels like he's older. One of the Apollo guys, Fred Haise, he's in Space Hipsters as well. Also Nicole is, but Fred Haise is hugely inspirational to me. I love his book. He has a book called Never Panic Early that I really love, and he's been through if you read that book, he has been through a lot in his life. Like he's almost died a few times in either spacecraft or aircraft incidents, and he just keeps going. I mean, he's one of those people, he does not get fazed by anything. His attitude is, I'm just going to get over this and keep going. And that's hugely inspirational to me. So yeah, I spend a lot of my time in books and just sort of, God, this sounds like a stalker thing. Like I sort of obsessing over people. Not obsessing, that's a bad term.
I get what you mean, but fangirling. I do some of that.
Fangirling, yes. I do fangirl over people, like, because, I feel like, I'm in my late 40s. That's not old by any stretch, but, it's, but I'm young enough that I have people that I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, man, I would like a career like that. Like, and I would just like to be like that. Like, they're just so cool and they're just not fazed by anything, so that I hope that answers the question. That's what inspires me. I try to look at other people who are, have a community focus and who are, because if you look at them too, they're very dedicated to the space community as well. I mean, right. And they participate in a lot of stuff. So Fredo is 91 and he's still at it. I mean, it's just right. Like, I hope I'm 47. I'll be 47 in a couple of weeks. And I'm like, some days I'm like, I can't move. And he right. is just he's doing everything. So yeah, I hope those are people I look at as sort of beacons of inspiration. So hope that answered that.
It absolutely does. And just for anybody who's listening in or watching and you don't know these names, Nicole Stott, of course, is a famous, more modern day astronaut. And you can find her all over Facebook. And she's extremely friendly, extremely kind. Fred Haise, of course, was on Apollo 13. And when I had an opportunity to meet with him at Space Fest, oh my gosh, yeah. Space Fest back in 2018, I just remember his one comment to me was, after that ordeal, I'm just so glad to be anywhere, you know?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe that sums up some of his approach to life of what you were just saying. And of course, Eileen Collins was the first female commander in 1999, was in charge of, the space shuttle mission. So do you remember which mission that was? I
think it was STS-93.
Okay. All right. So
I just pulled that.
That's awesome. No, that's great.
I think it is STS-93 because I'm trying to go through them in my head and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, all three of them, and I'm sure others that you haven't even mentioned that I know have influenced. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Also, even though she did pass away a long time ago, Judith Resnik, that was somebody when I was a kid was enormously inspirational to me. Also Sally Ride, but for some reason, when I was a kid, I saw The Dream is Alive, the shuttle movie. Yeah, I saw it in IMAX. And when I saw the scene with her hair floating up, I was like, I want to be like that. She's so cool. And I became obsessed with her. So, yeah. Yeah, these are amazing heroes. And I love the fact that you get in there. You did also mention the series, We Come in Peace for All Mankind. What is the name of the series? For All Mankind,
yes.
For All Mankind.
For All Mankind t-shirt.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, can you just mention that to the audience? Because I find it to be awesome as well. So.
Yeah, there's a show on Apple TV called For All Mankind, and it's sort of like an alternate history of the space program. And it starts with Apollo, and it's going to the present day. I think last season was the early 2000s. And it is just amazing. To me, it's sort of like a modern day analog of Star Trek almost, right. Because you have a lot of because in the first season they hired the first black astronaut, the first women astronauts, you know. So it's sort of a what if they had done this type of thing, but it's just amazing. I love it because the show seems so, to me, it's just, you feel like you're in it in the moment. Like when you're watching it, you feel like it's happening almost. And I love that. It's amazing. My favorite episode is still the alternate Apollo 15 episode where Molly Cobb becomes the first woman on the moon in 1971. That's like my favorite because it's just so, I'm obsessed with Molly Cobb. I'm obsessed with all the women characters, but I love Danielle too. Danielle is probably my favorite on the show. She's amazing, and she's still going at it on in that universe. So yeah, I'm very I love it. It's amazing, and it is inspirational because, like I said, they hired women in the '60s, and that's how it probably should have been. But
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's well, thank you for taking our audience through that because I think anything that can get us energized and juiced up and ready to go to build this future that we want to live in. I mean, your call to action at the tail end of your book, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but I love the fact that you're not asking your readers to be passive. You're asking your readers to somehow engage with all of this. So before I let you go, I just want to know what is next for you. What are the big projects that you're working on right now?
Well, right now, I'm hoping me and Bruce are going to do some signings this year. Right now, as far as space is concerned, I do have an idea for a future project. I haven't started it yet. I don't know when it'll ever come out because everyone's like, when's it coming out? I'm like, I have no idea. I haven't even started typing it, but I think I talked a little bit earlier in the podcast. You know, I really love the 70s stuff. And in a lot of ways, that decade, people are going to be like, well, you're just doing nostalgia. And I'm like, well, not really, because the 70s contributed to a lot of things that are happening now in spaceflight. Right. So I would love to do a project discussing just spaceflight in the 70s in more depth. So that's what I plan on doing next. Once I get time to start writing it all down, I even have it outlined.
Oh, cool.
I don't have a book proposal for it, but I have it like outlined. I have like rudimentary notes, and I have it like how I want to set it up. So yeah, so that's what I'm probably going to work on next. Like I said, me and Bruce are planning on doing some events this year. We're going to be at Shuttle Fest in April, which is in Titusville, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll probably do some more events throughout the year to be announced. But I'm trying to think what else is going on. Yeah, and we're probably going to do some more interviews and stuff like that. So just keep following us. And,
Where can people find you, just so they know?
Well, I'm on pretty much every social media except X. I'm not on X or whatever it is.
Sure.
But you can find me on mainly Facebook on Space Hipsters.
That's where I always look for you myself. So
yeah, that's where you'll find me at. Yeah, normally. I mean, I'm on all the other social medias, but I'm probably on there the most.
Emily Carney, thank you so much for being here. I am a huge admirer of yours. I love your writing, and I have to say this new book, for anybody who has not caught on yet, you really need to go pick up a copy of this. It is a riveting read. Once you buy it and you've read it, please go to Amazon and rate it highly and give a nice review. It is going to be so worth it. So, Emily, thank you again.
Thank you so much, and it's wonderful being on this show. And like I also, please give Michael's book a read. Please also rate it. I still need to rate it, so I am behind on what I need to do. But his book is also fantastic. So thank you so much.
You've been busy writing your own book. I get it.
Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy year, so a lot's been going on. But I need to still rate it. So yeah.
Tremendous. All right. Well, hey, thanks again.
Thank you.
In this episode's Kindness Challenge, much like Emily loves to emulate noteworthy people like Nicole Stott, Eileen Collins, Fred Haise, and Judith Resnik, all NASA astronauts and kind human beings, we encourage you to research whoever makes you feel inspired. Who are those kind, noteworthy people whose stories excite you? Go learn more about them. Did they write books? Are there documentaries about them? Learn, and then reach out to us to tell us who you are excited about and replicate in this world so we can build the future we want to live in. For this episode's inspiration and depictions of kindness and future building in the world, Emily Carney and Bruce McCandless III's book, Starbound, A Beginner's Guide to the American Space Program from Goddard's Rockets to Goldilocks Planets and Everything in Between. 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿𝐿's book, A Man on the Moon, and the TV series, For All Mankind. Check those out if you want to feel inspired, and let us know what resonated with you. Thanks again for listening to our Future is Kind podcast, a podcast in search of a kinder future. Go out there and do something kind.